everyone. I'm Nick.
I'm Vic.
And we're MV Board Gaming. Today we have a Kickstarter review of Trailblazer, the Arizona Trail. This game is a 1 to 4 player game by Mariposa Games. It is designed by Dan Rice III. And Vic's going to go over an overview of how you play the game. And then we'll come back for our review.
Hello and welcome to the table. I am going to go through how you play Trailblazer, the Arizona Trail. So this is just going to be a brief overview of the game, just to give you a feel for it. It's certainly not meant to be a full, exhaustive rules teach. I will say that first and foremost, the game has a handy reference sheet with all of the stages of the game and phases, as well as the final scoring listed. So pretty convenient. I love games that have that, so we'll walk through what that looks like to give you a feel for this game. I'm set up here for a 2-player game, as shown by the colors in purple and green. So to start the game, everyone's going to begin at this gateway down here. A card will be revealed to start, and everyone has their own player boards, which have a section for mural, where you'll put these polyomino spots, and your currency tracks and your supply tracks, or resources. As you can see, the turquoise is listed in 1 values, the copper is in 2s, and the silver is in 3 values. They go up in 3s. Everything is always spent the same, though, as turquoise. It's just that you can choose to spend different denominations of the same currency. It's just the same currency throughout. There is also gold, and that is going to be your scoring track is scored in gold with these markers here. And you'll be progressing as you normally do with that. And every time you see a G symbol, you'll actually go the opposite way around, kind of like Rajas or other games that have that kind of scoring. Because at the end of the game, it's going to take your gold minus your grit to determine the final score. So that's, whenever you see gold, it means a victory point. So to start the game, players will begin the journey. They will add these resources to their player boards, and then they will make a selection on the crossed arrows. So players can choose to go and move up a track by selecting any of the icons that match the tracks on the left side here. There are 4 of them: green, red, yellow, like pink, beige, I guess, and yellow. They have names in mountains and plateau, desert, and this is probably canyon. They can also choose to select a currency if they want to start right away by adding that to their supplies there or their currency, or they can choose to get a supply or a grid. Either way, they'll make 1 selection. So if this player decides to go there and get 3 turquoise to start, the next player will be able to choose in turn order where they'd like to start on the crossed arrow section. Now, if somebody does choose to go with someone else, the other player who was there first will get a turquoise for that. But for reference sake, we'll have them starting there and getting a health, let's say. Next, the Gila monster will be placed, and this is the player with the lowest gold. In the first turn, it's going to be the player who's second, but afterwards it's the player who has the lowest amount of gold, and this will block a particular card or a tile on either the fauna or the flora side of the board or any of the passages here. It will also inflict a health for that entire column or section of the board. So if players go there, including the person who put the Gila monster, to the same area where the Gila is, then you will have a reduction in health. Not so much in the first round, but in subsequent rounds, there will be a saguaro player who gets this cactus here, and that will allow them to actually get a point, a gold, whenever somebody chooses one of these cards that has a blue star on it. So that's the first planning phase. Next, we go to the journey phase, which is the action selection phase. Players have 3 action adventure markers that they start with, and 1 that's in the supply that they're able to get by moving up the elevation track. So they start with putting out those 3 adventure markers, they can go to any of the spots that have these little dotted circles. One of the things they have to do in every round except the last is select a player turn spot. So one of their adventure markers is going to be dedicated to determining the next round's turn order. When you go to a spot, you pay the cost that's on the board. So this is numbered 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the fauna side and the flora side. If you choose not to go to one of those spots, you can go to the passage area and pay the cost shown on the bottom left of the card, of the passage card. When it shows tracks, you don't actually pay that. You just have to have reached that level, but you do need the supplies or the resources shown. When you take a polyomino tile to build your mural that I showed you on the player board, you move up on the elevation track, and it's there that you can choose to pay additional costs that are independent, and they start off small and they kind of grow, to go up the elevation track and reach different thresholds that will allow you to move up on the terrain tracks I mentioned in the bottom left here, give you grit, have you select these weather cards that have different choices for players that will impact different people, other players, or maybe even yourself if it's an all card, but they'll make a choice of 1. And moving up on the elevation track does have its benefits for getting your additional adventure marker, so your additional action marker to do another action. So those are the spots you can really go to. You can also choose to go down here. You can collect the gateway rewards again by going here, or you can go to any of these spots to collect the crossed arrow reward that either you previously got. So if you put your action marker on the spot that you previously went to, so let's say you went here, you can either take the 3 turquoise again, you can move to any of the spots on the other card areas that match the same location you were on, or you can choose to move to an adjacent spot on the same crossed arrow card section. Once all players have placed their 3 adventure markers, or 4, or they've used all of their potential adventure markers for the round, gained in various ways, either by reaching thresholds here where you get extra Dutchman, or you have a spirit animal like the jackalope that gives you extra adventure markers to use. Once all players have gone through, we'll move to the next round, and we do the cleanup here. So we would place the trail markers on a new week, moving these up. And if player order had changed based on the selections down here, then we would rearrange these. And we retrieve all of the action markers that you put out. So if you had been here and you had been here, you would retrieve those for all players. You replace the Gila and the Saguaro again, and refresh all the flora and fauna cards. So these would just go away, the first one at the top, and slide up and replenish all the tiles for each polyomino value. The game is going to continue all the way, as I said, through 8 rounds. There are different chances to score objectives that are shown. So these ones here are as they're achieved. Players will place their hexes and get their reward shown on the right side of this card. Or when these scoring indicators are shown. So on the 4th round and the 8th round, we will evaluate most currency in this case, the highest level on the mountain, and the highest combined terrain track, and then at the end of the game, evaluating that card. And that is how you play Trailblazer, the Arizona Trail. We're going to go back up to get our reviews and our thoughts on this game.
And we are back. Thank you, honey, for the overview of the Arizona Trailblazer. We have played the first edition of this, and this was the second. We had mixed reviews on the first one. It was a little bit long. So
Yeah.
I was looking forward to trying the second one because I heard good things from a few friends that had got to try the prototype or an online version. I'm not really sure. But Yeah, I was excited. What did you think about our unboxing when you first saw it?
I thought it was really pretty, and we're pulling out javelinas and saguaros, and looking at bird polyomino tiles, and I was getting real excited. And then obviously there's some standees, some miniatures that are plastic. We haven't even used those yet, but seeing the
One of them's
cactus.
broke, right?
Oh
The
yeah,
javelina, yeah.
the javelina.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. Seeing the beautiful colors, the neon player tokens, I was excited, and it looked like it was going to be a good game from just the look of it.
Yeah, high production quality, pretty much, I would say. Beautiful colors, beautiful art, of course. Andrew Bosley, every time he's involved, it's going to be beautiful art. And a lot of unique cards. So individual cards, and we see that in a lot of his games where he takes the time and does the art for each card. So right away, appearance is excellent. So good that some components maybe aren't even needed, like those wooden tokens for the animals that we don't use. The spirit animals and stuff, we never use those spirit animals for wooden tokens. They're just cards.
Yeah.
It's too inconvenient because they don't have a purpose at all.
Yeah, and then the plastic miniatures I mentioned.
Yeah, we don't use those.
Even used those either.
Again, not necessary. I will mention we haven't tried the mini expansion that's in there. It's just like a little, I don't know, it's a coyote something. I don't know. I haven't even looked at it really. It's like a paragraph in there. I don't know what it adds even. But other than that, we've played the game multiple times at 2. We've played it now twice at 4. And I think for me, the experience is pretty comparable. It doesn't suffer too much either way. The choices are going to be very similar. And I don't think I'm not going to say this game doesn't scale well. I think it scales fine. So let's go over some positives in our 2-player and 4-player games.
Yeah.
You want to start with me?
You can go.
Okay. There's plenty of choices, plenty of ways to win or to try to win. A lot of ways to go, which is always good in these type of games. You don't want to be going through the motions. In this game, you don't go through the motions. I don't feel like you do. There's tracks to go up. There's passages you can focus on. There are fauna and flora you can focus on. You can focus on your mural, polyamas. You can focus on elevation track while you're doing that, and all the terrain. So, and you got to manage resources and currency. So yeah, it has a lot of coins that you're probably familiar with, but it combines some things as well. Worker placement is the main mechanism here, and it is solid. There's more than enough choices. You don't feel like you're ever blocked out. So yeah, I like worker placement in general. I feel like if you don't like worker placement, then this probably won't be a game you enjoy, because I feel like this is the foundation of the game, is worker placement.
Yeah, I never felt like I had a boring choice, even when it came to selecting the cross arrows area. Because it's not always the case that, you're going to get currency and that's all you ever get. Sometimes you want to go up a track. You got an objective. It's a tight competition with someone. You find that the boon or the bonus for getting on that next level of the terrain track is going to get you, a currency, a grit, and move up on a track, which will help you with a passage that you get. So the things chain off really nicely. And I think that what you said about choices is very much true.
Yeah. You'll find yourself sitting there for a moment and looking at everything on the board of what is your optimal move, what's going to get you what you need to do your next move. If you're looking at a passage, how can I get that passage as quick as possible? Keeping in mind that those passages are only out for 2 rounds, and then they swap out.
Yeah, you can't plan too long.
Correct. So what can you get soon? What can you work toward before that passage is gone?
Yeah.
And that is something you want to work toward. There are plenty of things to work toward, as we mentioned. There's different things with your mural that you can work toward and get a bunch of gold. There are things that you can work toward on your mural as well at the bottom. And right below your mural, it has some choices that you can go for, like for the passages, if you want sets. And then by the end, you want sets of flora and fauna, so then those come into play where they weren't really in play at the beginning. And they're simple teach. This game is a simple teach. Yes, there's a lot of choices, but it's pretty simple. Both sides of the player board are simple with the flora and the fauna, and both sides have polyominoes that play exactly identical. I do love how there's a base on those polyomino pieces that makes them different.
Yeah.
I was wondering how a 2-piece would be different than others. Well, because there's 4 different ways it could be. So it is cool that they have a solid base on those polyominoes. I love that. Very clever, and it makes things unique, not just by shape, but by how you have to lay it out. So it's nice. Sometimes, however, those polyominoes that you really need won't be out there. So you got to make sure you can cycle through or be ready when people do cycle through, because those do not replenish unless they are taken.
Yeah, and turn order can really matter. in places like that when you need one of those 4 available flower tokens, and you see a card come out, knowing that the cards refresh eventually, they will be cycled out, the flora and fauna. And if there's a bonus on there that gives you one of those single polyomino tiles, I know I scoop those up often by getting in being one of the first players to go in each round, and being able to get those to fill that mural when the pieces just weren't right to put into the mural.
Yeah. I feel like this is a game that you could teach to non-gamers. It might be a little step up for them, but I feel like it would still work. I feel like it's a step below Everdell, where that can be questionable to teach to new players. This is just one step right below it, and I feel like I could probably teach this to people that aren't gamers. I mean, there's levels of not gamers. You're not going to teach it to a very young or very old, but non-gamers, in general, that has played very light games, I think we could do that. I don't feel. What do you feel like? Do you feel like it's too much for a?
No, I think they could. I mean, and there is a good reference card that really does list out what you're doing. The only fail on the reference card is that on the back it doesn't have every exhaustive scoring option, because there are some things just printed on the board that they need to consider. So there is a lot for them to look at. So that would be my only fear, is that there'd be a little analysis paralysis or fear of making the wrong choice.
Yeah.
That might come about.
Yeah. All right. Let's go over some neutrals or negatives. Unless you have more positives you want to get hit.
Well, I would, like to just go off of what you said. I think that not always doing the same thing is very much the case here. You don't have to, go through the motions or pick the same path to victory to necessarily win. And each time that Nick and I have played, our scores have gradually improved. I had a slight regression at 4 players, but I have been able to improve my game as I've played the game and seen different opportunities with it. So that makes it fun to revisit and replay. So I think there is replayability in that regard. And who doesn't like to look at cute animals? So anytime you get to see those animals and put them on the mural, go up a track. I haven't even reached the very top of the elevation track, despite my mural heavy ways.
Yeah, you were just short last game. Mm-hmm. You were closing in on the end of that track.
Yeah.
And I've only reached one end track for the terrain, so it is difficult to get up those.
Yeah.
There are some rules that aren't necessarily in the rule book. You have to kind of figure out and guess at a little bit, and there is that, but it's not very many. It just came across me once or twice where things weren't clarified. I had to search on BGG and say, oh, nobody asked, so it was to play it this way. The rules otherwise are laid out nicely. They're easy to find what you need, and there's that. So I think I'm good to move on to neutral, negative feelings. Neutral is the game length. I feel like it isn't great. It does take a bit, but you don't. It's weird because you don't have that many actions. If you think about it, especially at the beginning of the game, you have 2 actions because one of your actions is the turn order. You have 2 actions. Mm-hmm. So I understand why they used this gather resources. It saves you an action because the game that's already kind of long. It just helps you get resources. So you don't have to spend actions to get resources. That's what that is for, is to save that action. And you're going to be spending resources. Even on turn order, you're spending resources. So it does save you an action there. And it's quicker than everyone doing an action to get resources. Yeah. So that's a good idea to have a random gather resource action at the beginning. I think they call it the gateway.
Gateway, yeah.
There's good that saves you some time. It just, for some reason, these games just seem like they take quite a bit of time. I think the box said 90 to 120. That seems about accurate, I guess. Maybe a little longer at 4. Mm-hmm. I think it's 2.5, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say 3 or almost 3 hours.
That could be right. Yeah. That could be right. And it's surprising because by the end, you do have more workers. You get the Lost Dutchman. You can get extra worker from the elevation track.
The Jackalope.
The Jackalope gives you a couple extra actions out of that. So there are ways, and you can get multiple Dutchmen. You can get to 4 Dutchmen. So there could be up to 4 actions right there. And those actions could take a while, but I think most of it is thinking about that action. Yes, you could. There's quite a few things you can check off. I got to do this, I got to do this, and I got to do this, and make sure you don't forget anything that you passed or hit. Whatever it might be. So it takes a little long. I'll give that neutral. What do you think about the game length?
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised by the time, and we didn't really have too much analysis paralysis, given that there's a finite amount of things you can do. There aren't too many actions, and all the actions are pretty quick. Like the longest one, I think, is the mural because of the remembering about the elevation.
Decide if you want to move up
And
once, decide if you want to move twice or 3 times.
Yeah.
And then everything's going to change because you cover things.
Yeah.
That could move you on something you hit. That could move you in elevation, something you hit. Yeah, so there's a few things
So
there.
all the other actions, though, are pretty quick. You get
Check your abilities if you have any fauna that have abilities when you do something anytime. Keep those in mind. So, yeah, there's quite a few things. Now that I think about it, it is a bit much. You would have to watch a new player, make sure they're not messing up.
And I know even playing with people, our friends that have played games many a times, it was if you were not watching and telling them, hey,
don't forget to move elevation
track.
That's a big one.
Do you want to pay to go again? You want to move up again? Oh, you unlock this. And really guiding. And these are folks that play games. So that's one thing that I guess you could take pause on introducing a new gamer.
Yeah, you've got a fauna that has a terrain track. You got to move with the terrain track. You got to keep an eye on things. All right, so my biggest negative actually is I have 2 pretty big negatives. Well, one's not huge. One is, to me, the Gila Monster. I hate it. I just hate the Gila Monster. I don't know why it's even there. Mm-hmm. You're just blocking an action and then making people pay a heart to do things in that column. The heart thing, fine, but why do you have to block an action? That can be brutal. Like, if you know there's one thing that somebody do, why not just block? Now, even before you blocked me, like game 4 that we played. In game 1, like our very first turn, like, why is this here? Remember me saying that?
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I was like, I'll just put it here. And then it ended up messing me up because I needed that. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
It was like right to start the game. I'm like, I didn't know I needed to go there.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, but then it can come back to haunt you. Come back to haunt another player. Could ruin their experience even. It hasn't happened, but it could. It could be something that they've built up for.
He was a good sport about it. When
I
blocked
can work around.
the passage card, then it went away.
Yeah, that's true. You can just do that. And I can... then when something comes out, you're not ready for those terrains. And now what? Well, I don't know. Gotta go do something else. And that's pretty brutal.
But you got to move up a terrain track.
Yeah. And it's almost arbitrary because they have one. I mean, what is that? The least gold?
Yeah.
It's almost like you can be getting slaughtered and have less gold. I mean, or you can be really winning. You can be really losing. The gold isn't the big thing. Grid is more important than gold in the long run because it could be 3-1. It could be 2-1.
Right.
So it's kind of weird gauge. So the Gila didn't like it, and the weather cards are terrible. Right?
Yeah, because you can shoot yourself in the foot. And I don't know if that's what hiking's all about. Like, that you could end up having a situation that's not so great for you.
Yeah, it's just, you draw 2, and they can both be bad for you, and they can be good for other people. It's just weird. Like, what the hell? There's a lot of spots where you can feel like this was a kind of a lame catch-up mechanism. It's like everyone that's in the lead, lose a goal. Like, wow, it's pretty blatant.
Or everybody gets a turquoise.
Yeah. It's just the weather cards are just weird to me. Whereas the gather resources are a cool random. Like, hey, everyone's going to get something that saves us an action to get that stuff. The weather cards are just
and
like,
the poison, that's good. Like, that's a good random.
Sure,
because,
cool.
If you didn't pay the cost, you can still get a turn order that you want.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have the stuff for it, but you're going to take...
Yeah, the Venom's fine.
Yeah, Venom, sorry, that's the word.
Yeah, what'd you call it?
Poison.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Venom's fine. It's not going to make or break you unless you keep doing that over and really exploit it. Then it's going to burn your ass at the end. But that hasn't happened. There is, but that hasn't happened to anybody. Yeah. Nobody's had, I don't think, more than 1. Maybe 2, but I think only 1.
Yeah, I think
people
so. By the end of it, people just ditch it.
And that's only -1 point.
Yeah.
And he lost the points, obviously, when he first got it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, any other negatives for you? I covered 2.
I think you hit on the one that I really wanted to talk about, which was the weather. That was the first thing that came to mind, because when you're drawing it, you're kind of dreading. You're like, oh no.
Yeah, how are both these going to be bad for me?
Yeah, and then you watch somebody just look around.
Yeah, you're like, who is the most supplies so I can,
and then
bury their ass with them.
And then you find out it's actually you.
Yeah, every time it's you. Every time.
The other card.
Yeah, well, that one's bad too. So it's weird.
I don't love that. I guess, and I don't really have. I don't think much else to complain about with it. I have done the mural action quite a lot. I'm a pretty mural heavy person when I play, and I don't know if it's. Nick has won and he hasn't done the most on his mural, so then I do question sometimes of why I'm doing it, but I just love those cute animals.
Can't resist. It looks pretty when you fill it out, right?
Yeah, it looks real nice.
Yeah, I just make hybrids on mine. If there's a turtle, I can make a bird come out of it with the shell. It looks cool.
His turtle doves.
Yeah, that's my highlight of this game.
Not much else to say negative, really.
Okay. One thing that's just weird to me about this game is when I mentioned the time it takes, is that fact you only have those 2 workers. Why is it taking so long? Why are these games taking so long? I don't have a lot of actions. At the beginning of your games, when you first start playing this game, you're going to be underwhelmed because you have 2 actions, and then your other action that you would normally have has to be devoted to turn order. So those 2 actions is very, very underwhelming, and I was worried when I first had my first couple rounds. Luckily, toward the end, it does get better. It's just that time, and for how long it's taking, how little actions you actually feel like you have for that first half of your game is the only thing. It's like a little, why is it taking so long? Why is this taking so long? It could be we're thinking too long. I don't know where it's coming from because I don't feel like we're thinking too long. There is thought, though, so it's not like we're just doing boom, 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 and done.
Well, we did have one of the faster games, you and I, the last time.
At first, and then it really bogged down.
Yeah, remember how we were pulling Dutchmen out of our...
Yeah. We were cruising that last game, about halfway through, and then all of a sudden, another 2 hours or hour and a half,
I should say. It bogged itself down. I think there were just a lot of chain reactions, too.
So, can't get the best of both worlds in this one, apparently.
Yeah.
All right, scores?
All right, I'll go first.
Okay.
My score for this one is high. I gave it a 7.7. I liked the game. I thought it was good. It didn't quite make the 8 because of what Nick says about the time that the actions take and some of the, how stunted you feel at the very beginning, having to use one of your adventure markers to place on a turn order leaves something to be desired because you really sometimes feel like you accomplish nothing. And in my really bad game, I was trying to get this objective about this currency, and I was fixated on that, and I burned 2 rounds going to spots to try to get currency, and it was 4 gold or 5 gold or at most. I don't think it was anything really to write home about, and it was kind of wow, I burned 2 rounds doing that.
Gotcha.
That's a me problem, but... Yeah, some of those things you want to get the objective, you want to be the first one to do it, and then you question, afterwards why you did that.
Yeah, you have to gauge what's worth it and what's not.
Yeah.
Like most games with objectives. You do go out of your way to get it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Scythe is good for that.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, I have an almost identical. That's a 7.6.
Oh.
7.6, we're almost spot on again. Like I said, it's a good game. It's a solid game. I can't go any higher because I do have some issues. I do have some qualms, but I enjoy my plays. I think it improved the more I played it. I think the game improved. It was as low as a 7.8, and it climbed its way back up because we had solid 4-player games. We had a solid 2-player game after that. So we played it quite a bit now. I think we played it 5 times.
Yeah.
And we're very familiar with the game. So it has, I would say it's grown. It hasn't grown tremendously to be one of my favorites. It's not going to make a top 100, but it is an enjoyable experience. I will probably play it again and maybe teach it to other people that can handle a medium weight game.
Yeah, I would like to see a beautiful board game presence. We didn't get any opinions from the people that we really played it with. Nobody really voiced.
I think Andrew voiced that it was a good game.
Yeah, I think Andrew enjoyed it. But other than that, not much else was said.
Yeah, I don't think. I think maybe Tim said it was pretty good. I don't know. I think he did say it was good. We had a bad game, right?
Yeah. So, take what you will from that. We appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, please click the thumbs up, and comment below if you've tried the Mirror Trail, the first one, the John Muir Trail, or if you have picked up the Trailblazer Arizona Trail game. And let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much. Bye.